Hi everybody, Katie here and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking briefly about Candida and I will show you a delicious recipe that is perfectly safe for a Candida-free diet. If you don't already know, I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and the founder of Live It Well Nutrition Incorporated. We have just surpassed our 100 follower mark on YouTube and I'd love to have you join me for future videos. So if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm also going to post a video footage of me making the cookies because it's pretty simple and self-explanatory, but I will leave the recipe in the description box for you as well. Okay. First of all, let's have a super crash course on Candida. What is Candida and is it bad? If it makes anyone feel better, before I went to nutrition school, I too did not know what Candida was. I had watched countless YouTube videos from self-proclaimed and pretty famous health gurus who basically made it seem like Candida was acne. When we finally talked about it in class when I went to school, I raised my hand and said, well, what is Candida? And then I knew. Turns out we all have Candida. It's a type of yeast species, a single-celled fungus called Candida albicans that predominantly live in our gastrointestinal tract. But in some cases where a person's intestines don't include a healthy amount of good bacteria or probiotics, then things can get out of balance. Things get out of balance, leading to a Candida overgrowth because a good amount of healthy gut bacteria or probiotics usually take up this space and refuse to allow Candida from spreading. It's kind of like real estate, actually. Like if Candida was a junkyard that should be in a neighborhood with other industrial services, mechanic companies, repair shops, things like that. But instead, this junkyard sees that probiotics have left this prime real estate area empty. And so it moves right into the suburbs next to the private school. A junkyard in the residential suburbs? You're like, stop polluting our area with your mycotoxin byproducts. So why did these healthy gut bacteria or probiotics give up their prime real estate inside our intestines and allow yeast to move in? It could be that we are actually feeding the yeast with a poor diet of sugars while starving the body of healthy, raw, or fermented foods, which is in large where we get probiotics from. It could also be that we've had to have medical intervention like antibiotics, which at the time may have solved the problem or even saved our life, but depleted our microflora of probiotics nonetheless. You see, antibiotics kill the bad bacteria that are making us sick, but they also kill the good stuff. Many other things, from birth control to heavy metal toxicity to radiation to your method of birth delivery or even stress, could all affect your susceptibility to a yeast overgrowth. Clearly, I love this stuff. Nonetheless though, when our diets are full of processed foods that almost always include sugar, even if they are marketed as healthy options, it can create the right environment within us that will favor a yeast overgrowth and not favor a plentiful count of probiotics in the process. It's not just sugar being the ingredient that we need to watch out for. It's also consuming too many foods that break down into sugars as well. It all feeds the yeast, given the right conditions and consistency within our diets. So, while yeast is not bad per se, it does become a health concern that leads to many other nutritional deficiencies when it's overgrown or when it leaves the neighborhood that it belongs in. Now, could you have Candida? Well, that takes a full assessment, which I can do for you as I work online via online consultations. I could also give you a list of foods to eat and foods to avoid, an explanation of detox symptoms you can come to expect, as well as how to deal with them, or even a meal plan to make your Candida cleanse easier for you overall. So I can do that for you if you contact me. But in the meantime, let me ask you just a few things that could be Candida indicators. Do you crave sugar, breads, or alcohol? Does exposure to perfumes, detergents, or the smell of other chemicals provoke any symptoms for you? Have you had fungal infections such as athlete's foot, ringworm, jock itch, or vaginal yeast infections? Do you ever feel spacey or have poor memory or feel drained, all of which is fixed and goes away by eating your next meal? Does eating often lead to gas and bloating? All of these could be indicators of Candida, but like I said, there are many more questions to narrow down these otherwise vague indicators. In any case, cutting out sugar is helpful, and these sugar-free raw sugar cookies are a great snack to keep you in the cooler for when you're ready for them. I myself have made them multiple times for family and friends who love them, and I think you'll enjoy them too. To make these cookies sweet, a natural sugar alternative is used, and it's called xylitol, which derives from the hardwood tree. You'll definitely taste the almond flour and the coconut oil that adds a really rich creaminess to the frosting. I myself searched high and low for a powdered xylitol, which is what this recipe calls for. But I ended up putting the xylitol through my coffee grinder to turn the crystallized grains into a powder for frosting. If you used a different sugar alternative or found powdered xylitol somewhere, please let me know in the comments. So that's it, you guys. I hope that you found this interesting. And don't forget to let me know how your recipe turned out. You can always tag Live It Well Nutrition on Instagram so I can see your creations. I sometimes get pictures from people who have taken my fermentation class, and it makes me so happy to see thriving kombucha or SCOBY hotels. Perhaps a video on that later. Until the next video, live it well, because you only live once. Bye!